Good morning, Year 11. Really quick video today to talk about episode 3. It's not going to be as long as the other videos because at this point I'm hoping that some of the techniques and some of the skills you have already learned. So we're looking at episode 3 and we're going to focus on what you should be doing in your viewing log. Again, the reminder is that the viewing logs need to be of your own construction even though I'm providing examples. When you're watching the episode, you're going to focus on the following things: how Sherlock behaves at the start of the episode when there is no crime, why Mycroft is introduced and how he compares to Sherlock, and what film techniques are used throughout. That is one that is consistent and should be in all of your viewing logs. And of course, our viewing log example is here. Reminder that this is my viewing log and that you need to create your own when you are watching the episode. It is not enough to read mine. You can see that I've got a very long viewing log. It actually goes over 2 slides. This is just the first because I've included a number of quotes and some techniques. So for example, at the start, John opens the fridge to find a severed head and Sherlock says, well, where else was I supposed to put it? This kind of quote gives you a bit of extra information about the characters, their motivations, what's going on in their lives, and their attitudes towards things. So it's an important quote to include, but it doesn't necessarily reflect the tone of the episode. So therefore, you're just going to pick and choose what you want to include in your viewing log with relation to things that interest you. I'm not going to discuss this slide because it's on your Google Classroom in the PowerPoint, and it is just the second half of what I was just talking about. So again, there are a number of quotes, there are some techniques, but I've just given the overall summary, so make sure that you do this yourself in as much detail as possible. As this is a film medium, we really need to get into the habit of identifying film techniques quite easily and explaining them. So a lot of the problem that we had in our previous essays that we did in class was that they were too general and not specific enough. So for example, if you look at that first image, people in the essays were saying Sherlock was bored. That's not good enough once we are in year 11. We need to identify how we know that is true. So for example, the scene opens with Sherlock shooting a gun at a wall because he is bored that he does not have a case. He says this to Mrs. Hudson. The camera zooms out from him into a wide shot that shows both windows just as they explode. This scene is the catalyst for the rest of the episode as it literally sparks what's going to happen next. Sometime later, there is a scene in a gallery where Sherlock is attempting to work out a puzzle that has been set for him by Moriarty. This shot actually comes from within the painting, so it's an interesting technique that gives you a master shot. It shows all of the characters with the focus on Sherlock in the foreground and the other characters in the background. Using this kind of shot allows you to compare what these people are like in the same situation, in this case under great stress. So these screen grabs here are not on your Google Classroom, they're just a bit of a bonus for watching the video. It is the 2 meetings of Jim Moriarty. So obviously he's in the episode more times than this, but we've got the first and the last of the episode, and he is mostly a figure at the end of the phone. So we don't actually meet him in person very many times in this season. So on the left, you've got Sherlock's first meeting with him. Basically, Jim or James Moriarty has constructed this character and started dating Molly Hooper, who works at Bart's. When Sherlock first meets him, he assumes that he's gay, and this upsets Molly because Molly says, why do you always have to ruin everything? When you look back on this meeting, it actually goes to show you just how clever James Moriarty is. He can construct a character that fools Sherlock in very close proximity, when really the whole season sets up this idea that Sherlock can't be tricked. On the right at the bottom, you've got the end, the climactic scene in the pool, which of course links back to Sherlock and James Moriarty's childhood history. The over-the-shoulder shot allows you to focus on Moriarty as the key figure. Everything he does in this scene is very calculated, but it's also really unpredictable because he's so unpredictable. You've got John in the background and Moriarty in the foreground of that image. Once you've watched the episode and made your viewing log, which you're going to use later when we do our essays, as I've already said, you're going to answer these questions in your book, and they're a little bit more general. So what did you like or dislike about this episode and about this series? And then you're going to look at a cliffhanger. So what is a cliffhanger? What's its purpose? So looking at the very end of the episode, that's the end of the season. So we know that in these TV shows that are released online or on streaming platforms or on TV, you often have to wait several weeks or months in order to get the next episode. So how does a cliffhanger work in a serialized text? Now that you've seen the final episode, again, really brief video today just to go over a couple of those questions that are required of you. If you have any questions about any of the work that we've been doing over the last few weeks, make sure you email me or call the school or post on Google Classroom. If you are coming in on an allocated day, you can also come and see me. Just make sure that you maintain your social distancing. Thanks, Year 11.